All right, this is my interview with Mr. Bruce, academic advisor in Whitman College. All right, so how are you doing today?
Pretty good, pretty good.
All right, so today we're just gonna pretty much just be talking about like just your job and what exactly it is that you do with just working with students and things like that. So could you just talk a little bit about yourself and like what it is exactly that you do?
Yeah. Well, I started as an undergraduate here at Syracuse University, the football team. I graduated, took a year off, came back, started working in performance training before I made the transition over to the academic side. And now I'm an academic advisor in the Whitman undergraduate office. I oversee students in our Waverly house and also minors. So pretty much I oversee a lot of students. I think I have 600 students on my caseload overall. But in general, we just try to keep them on track to graduate.
Mm-hmm. Is this something that like you always wanted to do, or you just found yourself in it?
Well, to be honest, I never thought I would be doing this. About 8 years ago, when I was doing performance training, one of my old teammates who worked in academic advising over with the football team at the time came over and was like, "Hey, man, your abilities would be best suited to help these kids understand, help these young men understand what it takes to graduate college and give them the tools needed to be successful." So I switched over from performance training to academic coordinator with the football team, overseeing actually the defensive side of the ball. Then that slowly turned into I oversaw 64 out of the 100 kids on the team.
Mm-hmm.
So in all, it was just pretty much trying to give them the tools that I found was very helpful for me as a student athlete. Mm-hmm. To prepare them, things like sitting in the first 3 rows, how to talk to your teachers, how to email, how to take that same kind of football mindset of how you attack sports and use it towards attacking their education and kind of molded them that way to think of it as a twofold kind of thing. Mm-hmm. If you expect to be, great on the football field, you got to expect to be great in the classroom.
So, you said something about your abilities. Like, when did you realize that, like, football wasn't going to be, like, your next step, like the NFL or anything like that? What made you want to take school and all that serious?
Well, I've always viewed football as the vehicle to get me to where I needed to go, right? Coming out of high school, I knew I couldn't afford college, so I used football to get me there, but my education was always the biggest factor. Mm-hmm. That's kind of why I chose Syracuse over the other schools. So I kind of always just used sports as the vehicle, but I let my education kind of be the engine to everything that I did. And in high school, I had a buddy who really made sense to the world to me and was like, "Hey, man, everything in life's a system. Mm-hmm. You just have to figure out the system. Just like how we play football, mm-hmm. coach game plans and give us a playbook and the system on how we want to attack this team. Sort of how you have to look at school. You know, if you're going to take a writing class, it's not going to be any tests. It's going to be 4 papers. Yeah. You just got to see what the paper's weighted, see when it's due, get a draft to your teacher at least twice. And by the time if the teacher looks at it twice, that's at least B paper, and then attack it that way. So it made sense to me, like, you know what, that's absolutely right. I just got to learn what the system is in every class and attack it.
So like, how did you find that balance between your academics and your sport while you were at Syracuse?
Well, my main thing was I sat in the first 3 rows because I tend to think those kids in the first 3 rows are there for school. Those are the kids that generally parents are probably paying full payers, so they're trying to maximize their opportunity in the classroom. And for me, I sat there to try to learn and pick up their habits, right? When I saw students in the front few rows pick up their pens, that alerted me to pick up my pen because obviously they think something's being said that's important by the teacher. So I would try to mimic those things and really just learn their skills and kind of just gel them together to where I really just attacked it And I learned things like walking in the classroom, saying hi to my professor, leaving the classroom, saying bye, stopping by office hours, doing those little things that's going to get me the extra little grade points that you never really see. And I always looked at it, if I had a B- grade, and my teacher would have to think, all right, what did Bruce do extra in the class? And that's really what set me apart from a lot of my teammates, is because I went that extra step.
So with that, like with all the information that you just said, what would you say our coaches, or like, because you know when a lot of athletes come to college, they don't really get that, they don't really come here for school. So like what advice would you give to like for like our sport coaches to like really helping athletes understand the school side of this college thing?
Well, it's a twofold, right? Because your college coaches get paid millions of dollars. That's their job, right? Whereas you're a young student athlete. Football is a job, right? You do this 20 plus hours a week, but school is a full-time commitment as well. And for coaches to understand, they were once in your shoes, right? Because a lot of coaches played football. A lot of coaches lived the lifestyle you lived, and they got through it. But the difference is between now and when they played, it's millions of dollars now for them, right? So your coach may get paid $4 million a year. They have to keep that job because that's how they feed their family. So understand, as a student athlete, I tell students to mimic some of the people that you kind of dream and wish you're going to become, right? So I always pick out two people in particular, Peyton Manning and LeBron James, right? The way they attack their sport, and the way they talk about how they learn the game and how they focus in and how they watch film and how they study. You know, the same thing you do on the football field when you want to win. If you're playing Western Michigan, you guys put in so much time at watching film and practicing. You do the same thing in school. You read that book, you do that paper, you do those sort of things. So when I talk to coaches a lot, it's really so, hey, let me help you by helping your student learn how to manage his time, right? On a Friday, most of you guys don't have Friday classes. So between 11 and 2, you don't do anything anyway. Start your work for the following week. So if it's 11 to 2, that's 3 hours. I can get all my Monday work done, some of my Tuesday work done. When you go to the hotel, you're locked in on football all the way up until Sunday. All right, from Sunday to 1 and Sunday to 4, lock in for another 3 hours. You should be able to complete all your Tuesday work, Wednesday work, and most of your Thursday work. And now on Monday, you just touching up on studying, you know, maybe send that paper to your teacher for feedback, or plan a week where you may know, hey, it's a study review guide over here, things of that nature, and how to now twist that to make sure you're always 2-3 steps ahead. So those are key things that I try to teach the athletes, and I try to teach my students now is, hey, you're not doing anything on Friday between 1 and 4. That's not time for social life right then and there. So make sure you utilize those 3 hours and maximize that opportunity to get ahead the following week.
So basically what I'm getting from everything that you're saying is time management. That's the biggest thing of just...
Biggest thing is time management. And, you know, especially for young students, right? You leave high school, you had your parents to wake you up. You had the teachers in high school that constantly pushed you. You had, you know, study table right after school before sports. Now you get to college, you don't have anybody waking you up besides knowing that if you miss breakfast check, you probably got to run at 5 in the morning, whatever it is. Nobody's really checking your class if you have a certain GPA, right? So class checkers don't check you if you typically a 3.0 or above. You're safe. But understanding, like, all right, if I'm not at that point where they're going to consistently check me, how do I make sure I manage my time? Oh, I got to get up early enough to get to this bus, right? I can't miss that 8:05 bus or I'm going to miss breakfast check. Things like that is really time management and understanding how to map out what you have to do, right?
So what would you say is the hardest part about your job?
The hardest part about my job is feeling like I can't help everybody, to be honest. Like, there's so many kids that I try to reach out to want to help, but they just don't at the time accept the help, right? They don't take that help. They don't want it at that moment. And it's hard for me to sometimes see a kid that has potential, because I was once one of those kids growing up that everybody doubted. Like, oh, he ain't gonna get out, or oh, he's not gonna do this. And I just feel like, man, maybe if I gave a little more effort to try to connect with this kid. And oftentimes, I also see that it's usually not academics that gets the kid in trouble, right? So for Whitman, we have a pretty good SAT score. You got into Syracuse, you got into Whitman. What is it that really is hindering you from being successful? And I found that a lot of it falls on the social life, right? Understanding that they can't balance that with school, right? They can't balance the fact that their parents aren't there to wake them up because I'm up at 3 o'clock playing Call of Duty at night and I got an 8 o'clock class. I just sometimes feel like, man, did I help enough? You know, and that's really my kind of me beating myself up a lot, is because at the end of the day, I tell students, it's your life. Like, I have 2 degrees already. It's what you got to make of it. If you want to be a 2.0 student, you're going to put in the effort just to be a 2.0 student. If you want to be a 3.8 student, you'll put in the time to be a 3.8 student. So, but it's really not being able to help all the students that I can.
So you said something about a student not wanting to help. Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think someone wouldn't want to help?
There's different factors. You know, some students come from wealthy homes, right? Where regardless of if I get out of college or not, I'm set for life because my parents are set for life. You know, there's some students who come from struggle who get a little freedom, they abuse it, right? They all of a sudden, for a lot of especially males that I found out, they get to college, there's a lot more females around them. You know, things can go south really fast when their heads are in the wrong direction. So little things like that, or being afraid to ask a question in class. I see that a lot too, and you want the help, but you're afraid to ask for it.
Okay, that makes sense. So, like, with your job and everything like that, being the academic advisor, is this like the last stage for you, or do you see yourself like in like the next 5 years? So, like, where would you see yourself?
I see myself moving up. I'm actually getting ready to try to start classes for my PhD. That's my next step, is try to get this PhD before I'm done, and then would like to move up the ladder as associate director or director, advising down the road. Things like that, that's dreams of mine that I'm gonna keep pushing myself to do, right? Because I'm a student of the game, I'm a student of learning. I try to learn as much as I can. If that's interacting with people or reading a book about the mindset, things like that, I try to do. But I ultimately want to take the next level, possibly be an associate director of student support services.
Do you think you'll be in Syracuse, or you think you're...
Well, you never know. I mean, if the job opportunity opens up, I mean, I'm sure I have to consult my wife and my family before I can make a jump. But doing what's best for my family ultimately comes first, regardless of whatever I do.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, I feel like your main goal is just to make sure you're helping young kids, is what I'm getting, right?
Yeah. My goal is always to help the next generation get to where I got to, right? You know, at one point when I worked in football, we had 13 kids in graduate school on a football team. You know, and it's always to push them that, hey, you got to be here in the summer, take those classes, graduate a semester early, a year early, get into grad school, force athletics to pay for your master's, right? So don't slow down because everybody else wants you to slow down, right? Push yourself to go beyond it, because at the end of the day, football's going to end eventually, right?
Exactly,
You're probably 28, 29, then you got a whole life to live. If you walk out of here with an undergrad and a master's in your 4.5, 5 years here, that's maximizing your opportunity.
That's facts,
right? That's opening the door professionally for other jobs for yourself, right? Because not everybody's going to go to the league. Open those other doors too. You know, always use the sport as 1A, but you always got one lowercase a that runs right with it at the same time. So things like that I try to live by and go by as well.
Oh yeah, well, Mr. Bruce, I just appreciate you for your time today. I feel like you shared a lot of good information, and I think that a lot of people could learn and benefit from this. So thank you.
All right. Thank you.